Swing pass. Catch made. Cohen. Does he have the angle? Yes! Touchdown, Bears! Fake. Rush coming. Driscoll is sacked. Untouched Nick Williams.
Well, Williams is the nose tackle here, lined up over the center. This is going to be his 6th sack, so he now leads the Bears in sacking the quarterback.
3rd and short for Detroit. Quick hitter is intercepted by Kwiatkowski, and it's Driscoll there for the tackle.
Well, you almost forget sometimes four games is a long time, and you get up there, and I just sat back and just to be able to watch the guys. What we were so used to doing is seeing them in there, and they ended up doing some one-on-one dancing, which is pretty neat. But it's exciting. We enjoy it. It brings you together, and then you're able to coach off of wins a lot easier. There's still a lot of things that we need to get better at. We understand that, but you step back in those moments and you say, "This is why we do what we do."
Yeah. This is why we do what we do. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting live from the beautiful studios of WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago. This is your Gale Street and Bears live, Sunday live, post game show right here at WCPT. Jerry Riles. And let's get to our esteemed panel, ladies and gentlemen. You'll love him. He's the one. He's the only. Excuse me. He's the one, he's the only, he's the Italian Stallion. He's Danny Carlino. What's up, DC?
Good evening, Jerry. What are you trying to steal my shtick? Coughing in the middle of the... That's me half of it. At least it was last week. I got 2 bottles of water with me, though, so I should be okay.
Well, I got my tea here, and I'm just getting all choked up because of the Bears' 20-13 victory this afternoon over on the lakefront.
Or were you still kind of getting a little verklempt from your picks for your...
Yeah. That's another story.
Competitive pool there.
Well, Kansas City, they go down to the wire. Their field goal is blocked. They lose it at the end. And, of course, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, I thought they were going to have this one pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. No cigar. No cigar.
Certainly none for you. No cigar, no PBR, no nothing. Just shame and hope everyone else made similar picks that didn't go the right way.
Well, wait a minute. I'll get my PBR for sure. I'll certainly make sure I do that.
More to drown your sorrows. But yeah, it's, what Coach Nagy said there is, I don't know about coaching more from wins than losses, because they always say you learn more when you fail, you learn more when you lose. But I can certainly understand where you are. You can see maybe the positive results from what you've been working on. Maybe it's always more. It's conducive to learning as well when something you do actually goes right for a change, as opposed to the previous 4 weeks where not a heck of a lot went right. So I guess that's what he's getting at, I suppose. But maybe the positive thing that they learned this week was a cumulative effect of the negative things they went through the last month. It seems a lot longer than a month, though, does it not? It's been a long time coming for the Bears to get a victory, and this was even without the change in quarterback for Detroit. This was one of the games that I thought the Bears had a chance to win, and they did come through eventually.
Yeah, they finally came through, and my apologies to those of you who are listening, and of course those of you who are watching out there. The Bears just got me all choked up, and so I had to.
I think you're allergic to Bears victories.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. And ladies and gentlemen, you love him. I'm telling you, sometimes he could be over in Evergreen Park. He can probably be over in Beverly, folks. This guy, you may even see him on the lakefront doing a Bear game, chatting, "Let's go Bears! Let's go Bears!" He could be in Elmhurst. He could be in Schaumburg, or hey, he can be in Rolling Meadows. You never know. But ladies and gentlemen, on this Gale Street and Bears Sunday Live post game show, he's in the studios of WCPT 820 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He's the one. He's the only. He's the man on the street. He's Marty-B. What's up, Marty?
Hey, good evening, Jerry and Danny. You're right. I could be anywhere and everywhere, and I was certainly thrilled with that Rolling Meadows victory on Friday night to propel them into the 3rd game. I guess they call this the quarterfinals. Lots of excitement on every front, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot of excitement all weekend long. And before we get into our post-game conversation, I want to say thank you so very much to the Monster Education Foundation and for all of you who had an opportunity to head over to Moody Bible Institute yesterday for the 6th annual banquet luncheon fundraiser. And I'm not sure of the tally of how much money we were able to raise for our 21 scholars But I say thank you to all of you who participated, whether you were there in person or we streamed the event on YouTube. We actually streamed the event on YouTube, and hopefully we were able to convince some of you or a lot of you to make donations via the website of mosteducationfoundation.org. But thank you to one and all for all the participation and all the support and the incredible staff over there. They did a fantastic job. But we also want to say thank you as well to Youth Services in Glenview, Amy O'Leary and Lisa Hanneman and the entire staff over there for their seventh annual firefighter chili cook-off. And congratulations to Firehouse Glenview, number 14, I believe. They walked away with the victory in the chili cook-off contest over there at Athletico in Northbrook. And Dan and his entire staff did a fantastic job. We had a full day. The Rewind Sports 60 was definitely out in the streets. And Marty-B, the man on the street, was actually there. And Danny Carlino, we missed you. This is the first year you weren't able to jump on board and support us on this one.
Yeah, I had a full docket of events yesterday. I was thinking of you guys. I'm glad everything went well with all of our. It's always good to help out good causes and bring awareness to certain things that are helpful in the community. Yeah,
it certainly is, and we really appreciate being a part of it. We're going to get an opportunity to hear from Dan Marvelous Marver on our TR60 hotline throughout this fastest hour in sports conversation. Our Bears post game show here at CPT, and I just want to hear from you guys, girls. Feel free to give us a call. What's the number there, Marty-B? What's the number there, Danny Carlino?
773-763-WCPT. For those of you that don't know how to spell on the telephone, it's 773-763-9278.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, not at all. I should have that on the tip of my tongue. I should.
Yeah, you should be blaring that out every time you talk with someone.
I'll memorize that before next week.
But there you go. Congratulations. Congratulations to the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky, for their finally ending that 4-game losing streak and beating the lowly Detroit Lions by a final score of 20-13 over at Soldier Field. If you want to jump in, feel free. Give us a call right now, 773-763-WCPT, for your post-game reaction. I don't know about you guys, and I'd love to hear your comments as far as your perspective on this game. But first of all, it was definitely needed. And Carlino, you talk about the confidence pool and, my struggles with, Kansas City going down and New Orleans Saints going down. So I'm losing 30 points already in those two games. Oof. But as I'm going through it earlier this morning, around 11:30 or so, I get to the Bears-Lions game. And honestly, I had to sit on it and I had to wait and I had to think about it. I literally had to think about it.
Even with the quarterback situation?
Even with the Matthew Stafford out, I had to literally think about it. Because the Bears, they didn't really get an opportunity to game plan against this quarterback, this new kid.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't do a bad job at all.
He did not do a bad job. He looked very, very good, to be honest with you.
He got better as the game went on.
He certainly did. But I was really, really hesitant. To select the Bears. But certainly I went with the beloved and decided to ride with them. But I certainly had to give them a low number, and I gave them, my confidence in them was a 5. It was a 5 because I just did not believe, for whatever the case may be, whatever the reason, the Bears have built this, and most of us, that they're going to find a way to screw things up. They're going to find a way to give the game away. And I had that same feeling, and they almost did it.
Yeah. I couldn't help but thinking, oh boy, Eddie's unfortunate miss of that extra point. All that's got to happen now is the Lions to tie this doggone thing up and go into overtime.
They were close to doing it.
Yeah, they were like 30-yard line or so with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, but think about this. They had, in their last 2 possessions in that fourth quarter, the Lions had 2 to 3 crucial drop passes on their drives. They had 2 to 3 crucial drop passes, and one of them could have been a touchdown. Was it the Kenny Galladay? He dropped one across the middle. And this kid Driscoll, Jeff Driscoll, congratulations to him. I thought he played a heck of a football game, but he hit him right in stride. And if this kid reels it in, I think it's a touchdown. And as Matt Nagy likes to say, we got to look at the film. But if he catches that ball in stride, he's going to the house.
Absolutely. Pay dirt was in sight.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Yeah, I mean, see, as I gasp and for everyone. You know, I grew up here, but I did not grow up a Bears fan. All right, so I don't know if that gives me a better perspective or a worse perspective.
Hang on.
Danny, you're too young to be a Chicago Cardinal fan.
Wait a minute. You said you grew up here in the greatest city in the world, but you weren't a Bear fan?
Yeah, that's non-Bears fervor was passed down for me from my father. I don't know why.
What fan?
He's a bit of a contrarian, and I guess I follow along in those footsteps. But so I like to think that makes me more honest. I try to reel back and not just pile on, although last week I think we kind of all did, and probably for good reason. But I also try to hold in the reins a little bit when something good happens, just to be realistic about it. But I don't want to overly rain on the parade. But you mentioned. For Driscoll, game plan, yeah, but I mean, you figure as much as Stafford, and this year he's been more good than bad. The team overall is iffy. That's why they're 3-5-1, whatever they are. So the Bears did climb out of the cellar for at least 1 week.
Yeah, they did.
But you go against their backup quarterback, and he's still able to throw for 269 yards. They had 21 first downs.
Yeah.
And you could say that they scored toward the end, but I mean it was a 2-score game, so it wasn't really garbage time. It wasn't like the yards that the Bears gained in that game against the Saints, where they were down by 25 points at one point. So it really was kind of garbage time. So it was the Bears had a lead. They held on to it, but it's still close enough that, as you mentioned, a couple of decent plays, and he had a couple of big plays against the defense that yes, another injury, Trevathan out, elbow issue. So they are a little, I don't want to say decimated, but they're not full strength. So that's true, but still, I mean, I know Hicks hurts, but Khalil Mack he's not Superman. Maybe he's Batman, but he needs a Robin.
Right.
So he's not Superman. So that's an issue from we're going to look at last year, because last year was what it was, and that's what everyone was basing their hopes on for this year. So we have to look at it at least a little bit, and it's a very different look in many ways for the Bears. The guys that they don't have all the help they have, they got a couple of key injuries, and the guys that we're dependent on are not stepping up the way most people thought they would if there was some adversity. There's still something lacking out there.
Yeah. What did you guys, Marty? What did you think? And we're going to bring in Dan Marvelous Marver on our TRS60 hotline in a second here. But what did you think of the drive? The last drive of the first half, where they go 80 yards or whatever, they get the touchdown, then they get the ball coming out of the locker room after half, and then they go on another long drive and score as well. What did you think about the team? Because it appeared to me that they didn't start off too well. Jason Zinner, our technical director, on our Saturday broadcast, texted me and said, I don't want to use the language that he texted me, but in essence, he said, this is a poor performance that we're watching right now between these two teams. And it wasn't a pretty thing, but the Bears got off to a slow start, and then they finally start to try to put things together, and they come up with those two back-to-back long drives. What did you think of that offense and how things were going to pan out moving forward after you witnessed that?
Well, first of all, I could just sense very poor communication between the offensive linemen. I think that led to a lot of our first half problems. But I applaud Coach Nagy for that. I thought for sure we're going to punt. I probably would have punted, but he didn't. He went for it. They made it, and the rest was history, and that propelled them into some second half momentum.
Yeah, the announcers.
Big time.
We do have to say the sound that you heard to open up the Rewind Sports 60 on our Bears Gale Street Inn Bears post game show here at WCPT, courtesy of CBS NFL CBS. Ian Eagle, and Dan Fouts on the call. Evan Washburn was doing the sideline reporting, and when Nagy, what was that, 4th and 1 on the 29, and the Bears lined up to go for it, and they certainly did it. They said, that's a very gutsy call. That's a very gutsy call by Matt Nagy. And Danny, I don't know about you, but it almost appeared and seemed that he almost had no choice. I mean, you're going up against the 31st ranked defense in the National Football League and the Detroit Lions, and you have a 4-game losing streak. Your fans already booed you. It's almost he had no choice but to try to go for it. And luckily for him, luckily for the Bears, they were able to convert. But, I mean, share with us your thoughts when you saw the Bears lining up to go on 4th and 1 on the 29.
Well, at some point, so you get confidence, and like even what I alluded to in his comments there about you learn from a win and all that stuff. You're supposed to get confidence once you start showing competence, but then at some point you almost have to infuse the confidence in your team. It's like, you know what? Like you said, we've lost 4 games in a row, and if you do your analytical thing with the 31st ranked defense you're up against, what in the hell do we have to lose? If we send out the punter again, they're gonna kill us, the fans. So it's like if we fail, I mean they'll boo anyway, but at least they might say, at least they tried something different versus just giving up. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. And if it doesn't work, I mean, it's worse than a punt in a lot of ways, but ultimately, you have to show confidence sometimes, even when you don't really have much of a reason to show confidence. Which you got to look at it this way: the coach has got to he's always a little 50-50 on things. That's what the coach is there for, to make these decisions in those times. Like, yeah, we haven't moved the ball a heck of a lot. We're not doing well. We've lost 4 games in a row. But if we're going to go against anybody and take a risk, it's got to be these guys. If we can't beat these guys on a 4th and 1, then we usually might scrap it for the rest of the
year. It was certainly a gutsy call, but and let's bring in the marvelous one, Dan Marver, on our TR60 hotline. Marver, you there?
How you doing?
How are you, buddy?
Down play might have been the key to the game. It was a gutsy call. And in addition to that, you mentioned Trevathan. I think Kwiatkowski did a great job in replacing him. Don't you think? He had a whole bunch of tackles, I think 8 or so.
Yeah,
but,
9 tackles.
It's nice that they got the win. They really needed to get this win because otherwise it would have gotten really spiraled downhill, don't you think?
Yeah, certainly. He had 9 tackles, he had a sack, and he hit an interception. And he was the spark plug for that defense when Danny Trevathan went down with that ugly, again, another player with an ugly dislocated elbow. And with the mid part of the regular season, this guy probably could be done for the rest of the year. Akeem Hicks, hopefully we can try to get him back around the Green Bay game, but Nick certainly stepped up, and he played an effective football game, and I think he inspired his teammates on the defensive side of the ball. So he's got some big shoes to fill, but he really stepped up and helped propel this team to a victory. I do want to say, and I'm happy that the Bears won. And it's good and it's needed because had they lost this game, Okay, I'm on
the phone.
Yeah, Marver, we're going to... Had they lost this game, they certainly would have lost this city. I heard a gentleman say afterwards that he said, despite the fact that the Bears won 20-13, like it was against the Detroit Lions, and he compared it to... you're dirty and you go home, take your clothes off, get in the shower to try to clean up, and once you get out, you still feel kind of grimy. He said that's how he felt. That's how he feels.
The shower didn't quite take.
Yeah,
and you don't have a change of clothes, you got to put the dirty clothes back on.
Yeah, so he said, the Bears won. They ended that 4-game losing streak, but he just feels grimy like it's and again, it's against the lowly Detroit Lions with a backup quarterback who was driving his team down the field on your home field. And if a couple of his receivers make some catches, make some plays, dude, it should not even come down to the last play of the game. It shouldn't have. So, and I know the boys are happy. I know Club Dub was happening at the locker room afterwards for the whatever, and Matt Nagy in his post-game comments was, happy, and, and you say the cliches, one game at a time. We won 1 week, so now we got to go to the next week. I get all of that. But next week... it's not going to be the Detroit Lions.
No, it's going to be a trip out west, which is never easy for anybody. The Rams, although they're not what people thought they were, what they showed to be last year, so they're having their own issues. But funny you mentioned what that guy said regarding the feeling about the win. I flipped on the radio broadcast for a moment, and the announcers, between the background noise of the fans and the announcers, it didn't sound like they were winning. Yeah. It was 20-6 at the time when I flipped it on. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
this doesn't sound like we're glad we're winning. We got a 2-touchdown lead, and we're holding them down. So that the first couple of drives, the Lions were able to get points. They held them bend but didn't break. But then they kind of kept them out of the end zone. And no more points until the end of the game, and Didn't sound like that. There was a sack at that point, and it's still
right.
Like, is somebody cheering? Are there people there? Are they in the bathroom? What's going on over there? It's like I know they don't have the no shows yet. Usually, when they have a really bad season, the last game or two, there's no shows. But what's going on over here? It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot. It seems like there was more apprehension than there was excitement.
Yeah.
Toward the end, you could hear some of the cheers when there were some big tackles made. But at that moment, it was just like even the announcers didn't sound like they were in a happy mood.
No, they weren't, because again, watching this Bear team in 2019, we've seen it, and we've heard Steve Young earlier in the season say, Matt Nagy used all the smoke and mirrors and all the trick plays, and they actually ran a couple trip plays early in this game as well. But he said, coaches have figured out Matt Nagy, and so you don't see on either side of the ball. Now, Mitchell Trubisky, again, they closed out the first half with a strong drive, and they opened up the second half with an impressive drive. And Mitchell Trubisky did what he was, supposed to do. And I heard, again, some of the post-game comments, and they talked about, don't confuse what Mitchell Trubisky was able to accomplish. And his numbers on the day was 16 of 23 for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. But they said you have to take a look, and as Matt Nagy likes to do, break down the film, because it wasn't as if Mitchell Trubisky was going through his progressions and doing his checkdowns. They had practiced these plays during the week with the touchdown to the Braunecker in the corner of the end zone to get started. They had practiced that, and Mitchell Trubisky had placed the ball precisely where it was supposed to be. The Tariq Cohen touchdown, it was a flare-out in the flats at the 10, 11 yard, and Tariq Cohen did what he does, and that's use his speed and use the angle and get into the end zone. And then, of course, the other touchdown was a Taylor Gabriel in the corner there. That was another calculated play that they had worked on all week. So Mitchell Trubisky knew where he had to go and place the ball in this football game. It wasn't a matter of him doing what this other kid, Jeff Driscoll, did, who was doing his checkdowns, who was going through his progressions, and who was firing a rock and hitting his receivers. Again, unfortunately, if his receivers make the plays down the stretch, Marty-B, it could easily be a 2020 ball game. And before we go to our TRS60 scoreboard update with Gabe Salgado out at the United Center, the Blackhawks are entertaining the Maple Leafs over there. Eddie Pinheiro, God bless him. I mean, it's for the whole team. It's been really a roller coaster season for him. But Eddie, with that extra point, the first time he missed all season long. Had he made it, we're not worrying about that drive, I don't think. Marty-B.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. I kept thinking of that, but he didn't, and it caused all of us to have some very anxious moments.
Yeah,
it's the last thing you want. You don't want to go back to that. You thought that was everything else is going pretty much wrong this year. You don't want to.
One thing I've noticed, it seems like more and more these extra points don't seem to be chip shots anymore.
They're not, Marty.
The rule. That's why I don't like it. I don't like that rule.
Why?
I don't, because I think it's ridiculous. I mean, you remember the game against the Broncos, right? Where they had the penalty and whatever. So they go for the 2-point conversion or whatever. Then there's a penalty. They go for the extra point. They move it back, and they get a penalty, and then they move it back up. Like, what are we doing over here? It's a play. You have to be able to do it from the same spot on the field. I think it's too goofy. Yeah. But they got what they wanted. It's not a gimme anymore. But I think it should be a gimme.
Yeah, I like it, because it's a chess match, right?
So what to do? The only thing I think is
it's just your strategy.
But if the way they should do it though, if you botch the extra point kicking it, but then end up going in the end zone, they should give you 3 points because look how much further away it is. If you want to do it.
No.
Yes.
There shouldn't be any gimmies. Danny, think about it. These guys are crashing into each other, 60, 70, 80 plays, fighting for every inch.
And it comes down to a kicker.
And then, but
they want to get rid of the kickers all the time.
You want to make it, You want to make it challenging for the kicker, so Hey.
Well, you know what? Give extra points for hitting the goalpost. The Bears would have won the Super Bowl last year.
Now that would be an interesting. They get a half a point, Danny.
No, they get 5 points. Just the opposite. It's a lot harder to do that. If you can master that, man, you deserve a raise.
Yeah, you certainly do. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked in. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Our Gale Street and Bears Sunday Live post game show right here at WCPT 820 AM. We're in our new studios, our South Studios here at the station in Jefferson Park, and we're just trying to get used to everything. Devin Tingle, our producer, is doing a great job directing traffic and making sure we got all the bells and whistles going, but there's a camera over there. There's a camera there. I mean, I'm just trying to find myself here.
I feel like I'm at the bank.
Yeah. But we're going to take a short time out. Gabe Salgado is our TRS60 scoreboard update at the United Center. The Blackhawks entertaining the Maple Leafs. Gabe Salgado, take it away, buddy.
This update live from the United Center, sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation. 8 minutes left in the first period, and the Blackhawks lead 1-0 over the Maple Leafs, courtesy of a goal by Patrick Kane at the 14-minute mark. The Hawks are looking for their third win in their last 6 games, and they picked up 3 points on their last 2 games. Robin Leonard is the goaltender for tonight. He looks for career win number 101. The Bears finally broke their dreaded losing streak against the Detroit Lions today by the score of 20-13. They took advantage of a Lions team that was without quarterback Matthew Stafford, who was pulled at the last minute due to a back injury. The Bulls are off tonight after last night's loss to the Houston Rockets, and the Illinois Fighting Illini football team is bowl eligible for the first time in the Lovie Smith era after yesterday's come-from-behind win over Michigan State. This update is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation and the F, empowering the next generation of leaders. Go to monstereducationfoundation.org to learn more. Live from the United Center, I'm Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT 820 Chicago.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout, so don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. Stop by 287 East Dundee Road in Wheeling or 8170 Gulf Road in Niles for all your wine and spirits needs. The Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. And remember, tell Marcel and Tom in Wheeling that the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop in and say hello. Mention the Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
Go, Ella!
Way to hustle, Jen.
Our daughters live for sports.
Hey, their dentist told them your smallest piece of equipment may be your most important.
Now they always wear mouth guards.
Yeah, mouth guards help protect against broken teeth, head injuries too, like concussions.
All from a little mouth guard.
They're small, but mighty.
Just like our kids.
Talk to a Chicago Dental Society dentist. Visit cds.org/mouthguard. Sponsored by the Chicago Dental Society, aired in cooperation with this station.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano. Inspired by his travels and passion for Italy's culture, executive chef Michael Bonner has created a broad menu of Italian fare, utilizing the freshest ingredients to create the fullest flavors to bring homemade, handcrafted pizzas and pastas, as well as prime steaks and fresh fish dishes to the table. Feel the energy while dining in a casual and rustic setting. Dine at natural reclaimed wood tables surrounded by inviting darker woods, exposed brick beams, subtle filament lighting, and accented with muted chocolate and caramel tones throughout. An impressive 50-foot bar lines an entire wall with seating for all. The perfect place to relax, eat, and drink with your family and friends. Serenello's Ristorante Italiano is located at 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell them the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop by.
Hi, I'm Liz Nicholson-Sullivan. As the wife of a 9-year NFL veteran suffering the long-term effects of untreated and undiagnosed head injuries, I know how dangerous concussions can be. The Concussion Legacy Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to keeping kids safe in sports. Their Team Up, Speak Up program teaches kids to speak up to a coach or athletic trainer if they think their teammate might have a concussion. Whether you're a parent, coach, or athlete, you can make a difference. Join me and sign up at teamupspeakup.org.
The Rewind Sports 60 is sponsored by Bazaar World. Stop by Bazaar World in Niles, celebrating their grand opening with a huge sale. Hats, gloves, belts, rings, bracelets, necklaces, and much, much more. The largest jewelry and accessory store in the Chicagoland area. Bazaar World, located at 8526 West Gulf Road in Niles, near the corner of Milwaukee and Gulf. Bazaar World in Niles. Stop in and say hello to Alex. Mention a Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Driscoll steps up. He's not going to beat Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski has been a thorn in Driscoll's side, and he drives him down. And it's 4th down for Detroit. 3rd and short for Detroit. Quick hitter is intercepted by Kwiatkowski. And it's Driscoll there for the tackle.
Well, you almost forget sometimes four games is a long time, and you get up there, and I just sat back and just be able to watch the guys. What we were so used to doing is seeing them in there, and they ended up doing some one-on-one dancing, which is pretty neat. But it's exciting. We enjoy it. It brings you together, and then you're able to coach off of wins a lot easier. There's still a lot of things that we need to get better at. We understand that, but you step back in those moments and you say, this is why we do what we do.
This is why we do it. Welcome back to the Bears post-game show. WCPT, yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the Italian Stallion, Danny Carlino in the house, the man on the street, Marty-B, and of course, Dan Marver, the marvelous one on our TRS60 hotline, joining us, and the highlights, the courtesy of CBS NFL, locally Channel 2, Iron Eagle, and Dan Fouts, Evan Washburn on the sideline doing the sideline reporting there for the Bears' 20-13 victory to end the 4-game losing streak and improve their record to 4-5, dropping the Lions to 3-5-1 in the NFC North division. So the Bears are trying to climb out of the hole. And believe it or not, gentlemen, and let's welcome the marvelous one back in. But believe it or not,
hi guys.
Believe it or not, marvelous one, there's still some sliver of hope, some slim hope. Marver, you got to pay attention and listen to us. We're on the radio. This isn't a regular conversation sitting on your couch, buddy. Although sometimes it sounds that way. Can you hear us? Marvelous? Hey, Devin, can you check him out and make sure he's there? Because I don't understand what's going on with his phone. But if you want to jump in, our number here is 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-WCPT, the Rewind Sports 60. Nick, how do you say it, Danny Carlino? Kwiatkowski?
Yeah. Well, it's a good Chicago name. Come on. Yeah. We got to have a good team when you got a guy like Trubisky, quarterback, Kwiatkowski playing linebacker. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be, lunchbox guys, right?
Hey, yeah, look it. He got the ball. He hit the guy. He knocked him down. Come on. That's the Bears football. He got that out there.
You knocked his block off, right?
Yeah, he knocked
then
his block off.
Then you go out and have a drink after and a nice sausage.
Kwiatkowski did. He had a heck of a football game. Again, I think he had 9 tackles on the afternoon, a sack, an interception. So he was the spark plug as far as the defensive unit was concerned for our Chicago Bears. But I got to tell you, a guy who I thought kind of struggled this afternoon over on the lakefront. I think he was aggressive. I think he was in some plays. Well, he was in some plays. He was in some good plays and some bad plays. That's Kyle Fuller. He got called for I think a hold on one play. He got called for pass interference, and then he got beat on the touchdown. By the Detroit Lions. So there were like 3 plays that Kyle Fuller was not on the positive end.
Well, he's been a bit of an all or nothing kind of guy. So when he has a big game, he'll grab a couple of interceptions, maybe take one back. But then there are other games where they get beat on one play at a decisive moment, and he's the guy that has to wear it.
Yeah, and you know what? He actually had an opportunity to get an INT. Jeff Driscoll threw one along the sidelines in front of the Lions bench, I think it was, and it literally hit the hands of Kyle Fuller in and out. Had he reeled it in, had he made the catch, there was nothing but green pay dirt.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the ball is not thrown meaning for you to catch it, but that doesn't mean they're not catchable balls. And sometimes you break on it, knowing that I have a play on this ball. I'm not just knocking it down. I'm not just trying to stop the receiver from getting it. This is my ball.
Right.
And that's supposed to be, but it's mine if I want it. And it must be frustrating for them, too, when it just dribbles out of their hands and clanks off their knees and just falls to the ground.
Yeah.
You see when they're holding their hands, they're like an ostrich with their head in the ground.
Right.
And especially when maybe he saw the green and he saw the end zone and Staley waiting to hug him or whatever in front of him too, and maybe he just got a little too excited and just dropped the whole thing before he had a chance to.
But what I don't get, Danny, and you're right, it's easy to see all of that green and say, hey man, I got an easy one.
You got to catch it first.
Yeah, you got to catch it first. But that happened to Eddie Jackson. There was a play across the middle, I think wasn't the tight end, and they were both going for the ball. And, Eddie Jackson, I guess inadvertently or intentionally, whatever the way you want to dress it up, they collided, and there was a flag thrown. The refs actually threw the flag, and then they conversed and talked it over and said, you know what? They both had the right to the football, and that's what Eddie Jackson was doing, so they picked up the flag. So that was an interesting and good call. But again, congratulations to the Bears. They improved to 4-5, and they're looking ahead to it's a Sunday night football game next week out in La La Land against the Rams. And, yeah, they better club dub and all that good stuff. That's fine.
Well,
but
with that,
they got to have a good practice this week, Danny.
Well, giving up, and Marty mentioned about some miscommunication you thought you saw with the offensive line.
Yeah,
5 sacks today against 31st ranked defense. They're going to have a better defensive line to face next week.
Really. And we are going to have a fabulous pregame show for you. We are going to get you so hyped up for that game. I'm optimistic about this Ram game. And I love the way Mitch is continuing to show improvement. It's great that we use him on the rollouts and take advantage of his athletic skills. I think in time he's going to be a very, very efficient pocket passer.
Well, if they can get him to do that, because, his strength is obviously when he's on the move. If he has a strength, it seems to have been it. If they can get him to be at least, again, competent. He doesn't have to be Joe Montana. He doesn't have to be Jim Kelly. He doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer. But it just, but a good thing. I mean, maybe he gets a little lucky sometimes. We just talk about defenders that have a chance at the ball and they don't reel it in. He hasn't been a turnover machine the last couple of weeks, that's something. You definitely want the quarterback to not give the ball to their team. That's job one. If you do that, then I don't care how many touchdowns you throw.
Yeah,
you can't make up for it.
He's still overthrowing a lot of his receivers. And again, the only reason he was able to be effective on those 3 touchdown strikes to Braunecker, Tariq Cohen, and to TG, as they call him, Taylor Gabriel, is the fact that they actually practiced those plays all week long.
Hey, wait a minute, though. So you said they practiced those plays all week long. Imagine if they practiced them during the preseason.
Yeah. And what's wrong with the preseason? Why don't we work some of these things out then rather than during the
season? Those darn tickets, but then they don't want the players to play.
Yeah, and I heard a couple former athletes talk about, with the switching of the offensive line, and that's always, it's been a question mark all season long for the most part, and all these guys are getting wealthy checks, no question about it. But why are you switching? Game 9, your center and your guard, and they said, shouldn't that have been worked out during the preseason?
So, not that all the positions aren't important, but center is extremely important. There has to be a very good relationship. Anytime a guy's got his hand, where, and if you mess that up, we saw during the Rex Grossman years how difficult it was to get a snap off. In certain times. So you definitely need that to be smooth and fluid. Otherwise, the rest really doesn't matter.
It doesn't. And what's really stinks about it, Danny Carlino and the man on the street, Marty-B, is the fact that these guys they're getting paid.
They did. They invested in their offensive line this offseason. They definitely did.
They certainly did. And those guys on the end, obviously we like to call him Jay Leno, but right.
Unfortunately,
he's playing like Jay Leno.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Jay Leno. At least he'll make me laugh instead of cry with all the holding penalties he seems to get this year.
Unbelievable. And Massey it's like, really? This is what we signed up for? These guys? And they can barely get the job done. It's unbelievable. And again, I think the jury is still out as far as Matt Nagy and his play calling is concerned, because coaches have caught up to him. But does he really have the personnel to execute his game plan? Because the thought process is, and we've seen Mitchell Trubisky throw 40, 50 times in a football game and try to air it out and push the running attack aside. you don't have the personnel. You don't have the quarterback. You don't have the quarterback to throw the ball 40, 50 times and put up 35, 40 points in a football game. You don't have that. So why don't you, as they say, work towards your strengths? We know what your weaknesses are, so utilize your strength and try to capitalize on it. But unfortunately, this guy is struggling with himself. He certainly is struggling with himself, and hopefully this guy isn't struggling with himself on our TRS60 hotline as we go back out to the Marvelous one on the road. Marvelous, how are you, buddy? Can you hear us now?
I could hear you the first 2 times, but I'm just mad you hung up on me.
Well, you got it. Hey, Marvelous, I told you. You can't have a conversation with someone else when you're on the radio with us trying to have a conversation.
That's right.
Yeah, so
I will say this was a must-win today for the Bears. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it's definitely a must-win.
Particularly after Stafford was ruled out, it looked like that was a blessing. And then with Tre'Davious on, but then Kwiatkowski stepped up big time, so that really helped.
Yeah, it really, really did help. But do you understand that with the worst defense, the 31st ranked defense in the National Football League in the Detroit Lions, would you agree it should not have come down to the last drive? And of course, we talked about the drop passes by the Lions receivers. Had they made their receptions, who knows? It could have been a different outcome.
Absolutely, and the fact that we held Detroit to 2 field goals in the first half kept us in the game, and that was key. Plus, that 4th down play, that was a bold move, and they lose the game if they don't make that 4th down.
That's right. They certainly did. They certainly, that was a gutsy call, as the announcers alluded to with Matt Nagy. Everyone, I think, was really surprised about that move, but I guess Matt got to the point where he said, hey, listen, we are paying you guys all this money. Mitchell, you want to be the starting quarterback for this storybook franchise in the Chicago Bears, and we're going up against...
Come on, Mr. number 2 overall pick.
Well,
let's get a yard.
We're going up against this defense.
I got something before the break. You got to throw the confidence. If you can't do it against these guys, we're never going to try it again. All the 4th down and short plays, unless it's at the goal line and we need a touchdown to score, I'm not bothered anymore. We're punting.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine? If it goes back to the 41-yard field goal, right? When he said, what happens if we run the ball? We fumble it. What happens if we throw the ball? It's an interception. We can lose yardage. Yet and still, hey, block out all the noise. We're going to turn off all the televisions up here in Hallis Hall. We're going to block out all the noise. We're not going to listen to you. Oh, 4th and 1. Maybe we can get this. Let's go for it. I mean, it's kind of contradicting his what he said in the past.
But you know what? That's a good thing, because what he said in the past wasn't working out too well. So sometimes as a coach, you got to think, says, I have these ideas, and sometimes they work, but lately they haven't been going too hot. Now, I don't want to say that the players are not responsible at all for it, but I'm the coach, and I'm the one that tells them what to do. There's up to them to execute, but at a certain point, maybe I got to change what I got to do to see if they execute something else.
Yeah.
Because when nothing else is working, like this is the George Costanza. If everything I try, everything I think is wrong, then the opposite must be right. So go for it. You lost 4 games in a row. What you got to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing that you haven't already lost.
And you're, I mean, like we talked about Marvelous One. I said there was a fan afterwards said that it's like being dirty. And you go take a shower, and you get out of the shower, and you still feel kind of grimy. I think a lot of Bear fans tonight, and of course tomorrow, and we want to say Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there for serving us. Marty-B will share some words with us, but I think a lot of Bear fans tomorrow and all this week, happy with the win, but still going to feel a little bit grimy because we go to La La Land to take on the Rams on Sunday Night Football. And you can believe I don't think that's going to be pretty, because what happened last year when they came to play on the lakefront, it was a 15-6 defeat. The Bears get the victory. And correct me if I'm wrong, Danny Carlino. Was it bad weather on the lakefront? It was pretty cold.
It was cold.
And the Rams weren't looking forward to playing here, so they were trying to get out of here as quickly as they possibly can. So I expect, Marvelous, you tell me, I expect a revenge game next week, and it may not be pretty for our Chicago Bears. What do you think?
No, I would favor the Rams for sure, and right. So I think think that the Bears would have to play a top-notch game, but that passing game has to really get going in order to compete.
Well, again, Mitchell Trubisky, and they got to utilize this week for sure, and because now the defensive coordinators again, they say, okay, we know that this quarterback has some deficiencies, and you guys are going to just work on particular specific plays in the red zone. So if we just flood the box and come after Mitchell Trubisky and force him to make a decision, it's, as they say, it's a 50-50 ball. Maybe he'll hit his receiver, maybe he won't. But you know that the Bears are going to be working on these particular plays like they did for this game, and defensive coordinators are going to be, making sure that their players are in place to try to ruffle the feathers of a Mitchell Trubisky. So it's going to be an interesting, probably a long Sunday night next week.
Yes, and I'll tell you, Jerry, as hard as the Bears are going to work this week, it's as hard as those high school coaches are going to work on preparing their game plans for these games next weekend. I am so excited. I'm going to try to make as many as I possibly can.
You know what? And Marvelous, anything. I like how you transition from the Bears to high school football.
Sometimes it's not that different.
It almost goes hand in hand, Marty-B. Marvelous, anything else before we let you go?
No, I feel kind of grimy myself now that I'm following college basketball. I was at a game Friday and at a game today. So I'll be back in the studio. I miss you guys.
Well, we miss you.
Well, we miss you, too.
We have a picture of you right here. Don't show them. Don't show them that we don't.
Yep, I'm turning high school basketball over to you, Dan. I'm doing my thing with prep football.
Hey, Danny, drive safely. Have a wonderful week, and check your email, and we'll certainly be talking with you throughout the week. Okay, my good friend?
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy, take care. That's the marvelous one, Dan Marver on our TRS60 hotline. Real quick before we go to the man on the street.
Real quick, just a couple of quick college notes. Well, first of all, congratulations to the Fighting Illini.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I think Lovie Smith saved his job. Let's just put it that way. I think it was
he saved his job every week.
Yeah.
Last night.
Again, he was the coach of the Bears. You know my history with the Bears. I mean, but he comes across as a pretty. And I know the McCaskies, even though they let him go, I think it hurt them a lot to have to feel like they had to do that because I think deep down he's just a really good man.
He is.
And so congratulations to him. And I'm not an Illini fan either. Again, the contrarian thing, but he's obviously this is his first group. They're coming to fruition, and they're really coming through here the second half of the year, so congratulations to him. On a sadder note, still in the college realm, former Loyola men's soccer coach Ray O'Connell passed away last week. He was there when I was a student. So he was the first coach, started in 1980. He used to work for the Chicago Sting, too, in the old days. I have a program with his picture, and it's like, wow, that's you. So when I was there just as a reporter with the Loyola Phoenix, covering the soccer teams, I remember all of our conversations in his office. And, the more I think about it, the more of I think impact he had on me and just the way I look at the game. And now that I'm into coaching, he just taught me a lot of things, and he made me feel like a part of the team, even though I never kicked the ball in the maroon and gold. That was a one alumni game that we played, but we don't want to talk about that. But it was always fun to talk with him in his office, and so may he rest in peace. And certainly condolences to everybody at Loyola and his entire family. Appreciate all the time that he gave me during those years.
Thank you for sharing that, Danny Carlino.
Very definitely, Danny. Very definitely.
Marty-B, real quick before we're out of here.
Oh, yes. Okay. Just wave your hand, Jerry, when I got to quit. Just want to say that, first of all, I am thrilled and excited to have received a very special invitation. I will be at Oakton Community College this Thursday night attending the Distinguished Alumni Awards evening, presentations, honorees, a lovely reception, and I'm going to get an opportunity to mix and mingle with so many of the illustrious graduates who've come out of one of our most prestigious junior colleges.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Now, folks, my gosh, this week, I was very interested in hearing some of the Loyola High School football coach, John Holisak, his comments, saying that, early in the season and during the regular season, we beat up on each other. We're ready for these playoffs. So there's going to be some very exciting games next weekend. Some of my favorites, like Hershey's out of it. Sorry, Mayor Lightfoot, felt badly about your Simeon team, but I think Prairie Ridge was just too much to handle. Oh, wow. My gosh. And, of course, Homewood Flossmoor's progressing nicely. And the story of the year, let's hope it continues. Phillips got that win after only 3 days practice a week ago. They got by Lincoln Way West. And yesterday, they took care of Normal Community 20-0. So Coach McAllister's ready Oh, I'm nervous about this one, though. This weekend, they've got Mount Carmel. Oh man. But it should be an outstanding game. That's the one that I really want to attend. And, it's tomorrow evening, I believe the 49ers are playing. They highlighted a legendary name in prep football around the Chicago area. A young man by the name of Tevin Coleman, who came out of Oak Forest, had a really good career there, a fine career at Indiana, and then has spent some time in the pros, and he's going to be playing for the 49ers tomorrow night.
Nice.
Okay, folks. Well, and hey, congratulations to Deerfield. They're going on to round 3, so that's great in high school football. As we conclude our program today, let's all stand.
Okay, Marty.
Respect and salute all of our proud veterans.
Stand up, Tingo.
This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave. We honor your service during tomorrow's Veterans Day. God bless you all. Go to those restaurants. They want to have you. They feel so indebted. They have served you. You have served them. Now they want to serve you. Go out tomorrow, mix and mingle with your fellow vets, and have a very, very blessed day and a great week.
Thank you, Marty-B, the Man on the Street Veterans Day. Make sure you take advantage of it, but also be careful because winter storm watch is in effect, and we're expected between 1 and 3 inches here in the Chicagoland area.
That's old news. We had it on Halloween.
No, Danny, this time it's going to stick.
But are any of the veterans going to come out trick-or-treating? We got all this candy left over. Come on over. We'll give you some. You like Reese's? We'll give you some.
Yeah. Can we sit down? I think people watching online are looking at our midsection.
If I'd have known that,
they're not always the most attractive sight.
If I'd have known that, I'd have done a few more crunches.
Don't hesitate to talk to a vet tomorrow. Mix and mingle. Oh, you vets, just make the most of tomorrow. I'm going to spend my entire day with each and every one of you that I possibly can.
There you go.
And about Veterans Day, here's a good thought just about our history. We should always think twice before maybe more than twice, when we send them to fight, and always and definitely respect them and care for them tenfold when they come back.
There you go. He's Danny Carlino,
Thank you,
the Italian
Danny, for
Stallion.
that.
The Man on the Street, Marty-B, and thanks to the marvelous one, Dan Marver, for checking in on our TRS60 hotline. Folks, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation, the Rewind Sports 60. Gale Street and Bears, Sunday Live post game show. Have a great rest of your week. Drive safely tomorrow throughout the week. Stay warm, and we'll see you, Ciaranello's, next Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. It is the Rewind Sports 60. Enjoy yourself. Gabe Salgado at the United Center with our TRS60 scoreboard update. Take it away, Gabe.
TRS60 Sports Update.
The Blackhawks have certainly picked up the pace since my last report. They now lead 4-1 at the first intermission. They got 2 goals from Patrick Kane, plus additional goals from Kirby Dach and Jonathan Toews. Robin Leonard has only allowed 1 goal, but he did make a couple of big saves. Again, the Blackhawks lead 4-1 at the first intermission. This update live from the United Center is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation, and I'm Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT 820 Chicago.
The preceding program, the Rewind Sports 60, is sponsored by Jerry Riles and, to the extent applicable, his guests.